Do you know how nuclear power or electricity in general works?
I didn't know a whole lot at all.
Honestly, don't know much about it. I know that my town's more so run by nuclear power.
Do you know how nuclear power or electricity in general works?
I'm not too knowledgeable on the subject, but I know that it's a cleaner way to get energy, but it also is dangerous in the fact of storing it after it's used.
Not specifically. I know technically I had a class, but I'm not totally sure. I mean, I know kind of the concept of energy is created by hydro or nuclear or different ways, I guess. But like as to the actual how they take the energy and convert it into electricity, that's a bit where I'm a little sketchy, I guess you could say.
How clean do you think nuclear energy is compared to all the other forms of electricity on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the cleanest and 5 being the dirtiest?
I'm just from what I've heard around, I think it's probably more the dirtier ones to 4 as far as waste products.
How clean is nuclear energy? 1 to 5, 5 being the dirtiest.
A 2 or a 1.
I guess it would be a 2, possibly, just because it does decrease carbon emissions. However, like building and planning these plants is not very green, and that mining the uranium also takes like carbon emissions. So
I would assume that nuclear energy is cheaper, and I may be completely wrong in saying that, so I'd say probably about a 2.
Be on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the least expensive, 5 being the most expensive.
I think maybe about a 4, just because I know it takes a long time and it is really expensive to actually build the nuclear power plants. So I think probably about a 4.
2.
Okay.
I'm gonna say a 3. Okay. And if I have to explain my reasoning for that, I thought I remember reading that the actual process of it's splitting an atom, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I thought they said that was actually kind of expensive to get the plant up and going and doing that.
Mm-hmm.
That once it started, it's relatively, is it economically efficient because you're just doing that.
It's definitely not a cost-effective route for more energy.
What is the risk, do you think, of nuclear accidents on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being a continual state of national emergency?
I would say probably 7 or 8.
If there's an accident, definitely a 10.
Yeah.
But, accidents don't seem to be very common.
I haven't heard of any nuclear explosions or anything like that, or anything going wrong with the nuclear plants in the news, and so I don't think that it's at high risk, and if it is at a very high risk of something occurring, I think there's a lot of precautions that are set in place for that, so we're not, just caught out the blind with it.
A long freaking time. I'm not sure exactly. I know that Chernobyl is still suffering from the radioactive decay, so probably a really long time.
How many years do you think the nuclear waste lasts?
I think it takes a while for it to deteriorate and degrade. So.
Thousands of years. Maybe millions. I don't remember, but it's a long time.
How do you feel about it?
Honestly, I haven't had any terrible experiences, like I said before. I know that we have our Lake Robinson in Hartsville, and there's a couple hot spots, we call them. And a lot of times people will go out and hang out at these places, go to the water well. But it's never been detrimental to me, or at least not that I know yet. I don't have like an extra toe or anything like that. So yeah.
Are there any childhood stories you remember hearing about nuclear power growing up or anything?
The only thing that really sticks out to me is probably just doing little drills. Sometimes we would have drills of what happens if the nuclear power plant explodes? They'd load us up on a bus. They're supposed to take us to Florence, but they didn't drive us there during the drills and stuff like that. So we were prepared for the worst, but like I said, I've never really heard anything bad or any bad talk about Progress Energy in our town.
I've grown up around the plant. We never took a tour of the plant, which some school groups did. I guess you just kind of pick little things up just from living around it. The one part I do remember after the whole Japanese disaster, they told us that they went through step by step the plan for what's ever going to happen if Duke blows.
Okay.
And essentially, they drain literally all of Kiwi and all of Jocassee through Duke. One of my good friends, her dad is an engineer, in Duke.
Okay.
So, which apparently they have a giant red button you're not supposed to press, which. No, it's a thing. Like, you don't press the red button. And I think that might be, one of the buttons that, shuts the entire plane down. Anyways.
Do you have an opinion about nuclear power?
I know that in California it's banned right now to use nuclear power, and I know that our carbon emissions have increased because of that. So I think that's not a good thing, but I also think that we could harness wind and solar energy better. So.
What do you think of the opinions of some lawmakers in some states that have banned it? Like some states like California, Kentucky, Maine, West Virginia have banned nuclear power plants. What do you think of that?
I think it's a good thing because I think that nuclear waste is a problem.
Okay.
And that more states should convert to renewable resource energy forms. So I think it's a good thing.
Are you aware that it's frowned upon by your state by state legislators?
I was not aware of that. However, I think it's pretty, it makes sense. It's accurate. I would understand that. My grandpa had a brother who worked in a nuclear power plant when he was younger, and my mom has said now that he has some sort of lung disease. So I'm all for that, I guess.
Are you aware of any opinions of people in your area, how they feel about it?
I just know that since the North is, it has all kinds of nature everywhere. City area is not really big. A lot of people don't like it for forest reasons and all the animals we have up there.
Well, I remember seeing there's a nuclear power plant in San Onofre in the San Diego County in Southern California, and I remember seeing that, and it's right on the beach front, and it's pretty ugly.
So how do you feel about nuclear power?
I wouldn't say it's the best form of energy. I've heard both things that it provides a lot of radiation, and I know that is terrible, and we have enough pollution as it is.
I understand the states. I'm not necessarily going to say I have an opinion on it. I guess I could say technically, from what I know, I would agree with it. Just because, again, if a reaction is producing coal would produce, soot or whatnot, that can be filtered, that can be, cleaned up in various ways. Radioactivity can't be.
I'm Isaac Halverson. I'm from Augusta, Georgia, and for the past 3 summers and for this coming summer, I'm interning at the Savannah River National Lab.
So has working at a nuclear power plant changed your view of nuclear power?
Not really, because both of my parents have worked there for my whole life, and so I've had a very kind of pro-nuke upbringing, I guess you could say. But it has opened my eyes to some of the more specific aspects of nuclear power. So yeah, that's been pretty interesting.
Do you think the nuclear power is dangerous?
I think it can be, but I think as a source of energy, it's very promising, and in the U.S. at least, and in a lot of IAEA countries, the nuclear power is a tremendous asset. I think it's fantastic.
Do y'all have any safety regulations that y'all do to protect the waste from getting out into the environment?
Absolutely. There's whole divisions at the site devoted to remediation and handling not only like the high level waste, but also the lower level stuff too. And they take extreme safety precautions. There's never been a full-scale nuclear incident at the site. We're very, very safe.
Where do y'all put the waste?
It depends. They do a lot of different stuff with a lot of different stuff. So the lower level stuff that's not as dangerous can be incinerated or put into storage until it cools off. And some of the higher level stuff, of course, though, the stuff that really lasts a long time has to be put into long-term storage. Unfortunately, in the U.S., there's no specific long-term storage depot. Yucca Mountain was nixed in 2011, I think. So most of it's kept on site, which is going to have to change soon. We're going to need a place to put this stuff on.